Anybody, anywhere,
It's time to take command with former NFL tight end Logan Paulsen.
This pass caught by Paulsen, the tight end.
And from 106.7 The Fan, Grant Paulsen.
Welcome into Take Command with Logan Paulsen, who's been a decade in the NFL. I'm Grant Paulsen. You can watch me, listen to me on 106.7 The Fan. Of course, watch this pod on the 106.7 Team 980 YouTube channels. Logan, if it looks like I'm coming to you from the bedroom of like a flimsy backboard in like a child's bedroom at an Airbnb, it's because that's exactly what's happening. How are you?
It's good. I'm glad you clarified because I was like, man, that's what it looks like. And then you're like, that's exactly what it is. And it's perfect.
Yeah, I'm in an Airbnb. We did a little 3-day weekend getaway before the fall here. And my kids and their cousins are watching a movie.
What movie we got? What's on deck here?
I think it's like Leo the Lizard or something. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Some like kids movie from Netflix probably. And then I was like, I'll go upstairs. No problem. And then there's not like a single chair or table up here. So it's like, here we go.
Here we go.
We're
Yeah, here we go.
Bed, pretzel style. Let's do this thing.
Dude, I'm impressed you can do pretzel style. My hips are so arthritic now. I can't even get into.
You think I'm doing pretzel style? There's zero chance.
Well, I thought maybe you're like hypermobile and you're just like sitting there like, in a Zen position.
I wish. Yeah. In another world. I mean, I would cramp in like 8 seconds, I think, if I did that. But let's talk Commanders football. There's actually a lot to get into on this episode.
Yeah.
You're going to do your breakdown of the preseason game with the Detroit Lions and start looking ahead to kind of the end of their ramp up. They're going to wrap up camp here with a midweek workout against the Ravens and then a preseason game where they won't play anybody who's first team relevant. But let's just start with the game recap. I mean, so much talk about will they play, won't they play?
Right, yeah.
I want every second of all of that discourse back. What a gigantic waste of time. Just a kick to the giblets from Dan Quinn and company. They played them. I can't say I'm upset they didn't play them.
Yeah.
The starters got 3 plays for Jayden Daniels in the offense. So I'm like, all right, let's.
And then 2 plays for the defense, right? Like, I mean, it was equally as brief for both sides of the football. Yeah.
Yeah. The defense, at least to their credit, they made a play. They got a sack fumble, scored a touchdown. Yeah, that was good. But on offense, 1st and 10, pressure and complete throwaway. 2nd and 10, sack on a rollout. 3rd and a mile, draw, and let's put on visors and T-shirts for the rest of the day. So I was hoping.
We got to do what we got to do. We got to do what we got to do, boys.
Yeah, we can get into that. But what'd you make of 3 plays for the offense?
So 3 plays for the offense, like I'm probably in the minority, but I came away like kind of, I guess, as optimistic as you can be from 3, and I'll tell you why. So first off, we get out there, we're in 11 personnel, right? We got Terry McLaurin kind of in a tight split, very unusual to the offensive left. We got Stephon Diggs in the slot. We got Treylon Burks out wide. Great. You know what I mean? Then we motion Stephon Diggs to a stack position, and the first play of the game, which I love, is a little choice route, a little option route versus man-to-man coverage. So I love the thought process by David Blau. What's the best way to get Stephon Diggs a touch early in this game? Let's make it happen. And so love choice, right? Because again, like he's going to push out. Again, it doesn't really work out because the defender, like it's really interesting to watch that play back and watch it live. Like Stephon Diggs actually takes a really nice, reminds me of old Santana Moss, nice release, arc release. He's trying to get the defender to play over top of Terry McLaurin, like play over top of the corner route. So then you can just break inside and there's grass in there and you're going to go score a touchdown. But the defender kind of gets in between, kind of plays it almost badly, like kind of runs into the defender that's in front of him. So it gets stuck inside the choice. And so Diggs is like, well, you're stuck in there. I got to break it out. And it's a really long throw to the out. And then Jaden's kind of like, that's too long. Let me get to the back in the flat. So I like the thought process. I like the personnel. I like seeing all those guys in the field. But again, like there's some detail work there. Like maybe Terry could tighten his split a little bit. Maybe he doesn't need to work for so much width. But I like the thought process. Second play of the game.
Well, let's stay with that play for a second. We're going to go really deep with 3 plays here, the preseason that don't matter that much. But it's the 3 plays, so we might as well take out a shovel. So what I saw on that play, too, was they run a game up front.
Yep.
And the guy looping around beats Julian Good-Jones. But is that just a, hey, you run a game there and you get got? It's kind of honestly what I asked you about with centers. I'm like, yeah, but why not just get that guy one-on-one to have to make an athletic play in space by running a game? And that's kind of what they did. And it looks like Julian Good-Jones had no answer.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Grant, because I think that's an interesting kind of talking point, kind of about the day, about the offensive line specifically, and about Good-Jones. So it is just a little bit of a pick stunt. So what they're doing is they've got somebody on his left shoulder, and they're kind of rushing that left A gap with the big nose guard there, and then 45 is attacking the left guard's outside shoulder. And during that process, he kind of baits up in the line of scrimmage the linebacker and then works back late. And so when I watched it live, I was like, man, I feel like they should be able to see this, because obviously Good-Jones, like, this is a plus for him in my mind. Not this play, but this part of the process. You've identified the blitzer. You've got the protection targeted correctly. Your eyes are there. You and Chris Paul are on the same page. Like, why didn't you bump off of this? From the end zone copy, the nose guard grabs his left shoulder pad and pulls him in. So the back judge probably should call a penalty here for holding, but it doesn't. This happens on every play. It's part of football.
I was going to say, welcome to the league. That's going to happen a lot.
These things happen. But again, like that kind of that subtlety of like, hey, here's a little tug. I can't get off as quick. Like, he identifies it. But I think that's part of the problem here. Because on the whole, like, when you watch Good-Jones, like, he had 28 snaps. I watched all of them. I thought he did a pretty good job in pass protection. Like, good job helping Goldman on some stuff, working the slides, handling loopers, good vision on that kind of thing. This is one that they got him on, right? So you probably don't even feel this. If Stephon Diggs wins in the timing of this play, the ball would be out. But again, I would say Good-Jones and Chris Paul can be better here. You mentioned, like, this is the league. People are going to get held. But I do remember thinking, like, yes, on paper, you want him to bump this off and get off. But again, like, having been in that situation, like a combination to a Sam linebacker, and the guy grabs you, it's like, those are big, strong dudes, and I'm a big, strong dude, but I can't get off. And the way that guy triggers down, I'm going to be late to the block. And so a block that should have
I'm
great
wondering,
angles.
would a coach give him a minus on that play? Or are they going to say, like, hey, you got held, no problem?
I think what I'd say is, like, if I'm coaching him, and the coaching I've received is like, I know you're getting held here, but you got to find a way to get it done. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to, right? It's like, yes, like, this is not fair in the context of the game. This is against the rules, but this kind of stuff happens. So let's make sure in the future we have a technique. The way to kind of solve this is, don't get so chest to chest with the defender here. You get over there, you're decently using your hands, but we're not at extension, right? If we get to extension, it's harder to grab because you're kind of on him. He's able to grab you. So let's make sure we're using our length and can use our vision and use our quick feet to bump off and get this linebacker coming late. So yes, there are things he could have done prior to probably put himself in a better position. But again, this is football. It's not perfect. You get held, it ends up being a pressure. And again, you don't even feel this pressure if the receivers win in the timing of the play. And no one did anything objectively wrong here, but this is, to me, the margin of error between a good play and a bad play, right? If Diggs wins on time, ball's out, you don't even feel it, right? If Good-Jones uses his length and kind of pushes this off, you don't even feel the pressure, right? And Jaden's able to work through and get the ball to Allen in the flat. But that's, again, like, the margin. By the way,
isn't this the very nature, like, when we debate the semantics of should you play in the preseason, should you not? Here's your reason. Like,
yes,
if that's the first play against the Eagles, now Diggs might run it a little bit differently on 1st and 10.
Correct.
And it's like, against the Eagles, you just got to hit on Jayden Daniels, or you're 0 for 1 and to behind the chains to start the season. It's like, all right, there's a lesson learned. This is why when people pretend like the preseason has zero merit, it drives me crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because they are running these things and kind of experimenting. So that was the first play of the game. The second play of the game was actually a sack for minus 10.5, 11.
Yeah.
And on that play, they run a bootleg. It ends up looking like both tight ends get beat. So John Bates gets beat inside in a kind of a one-on-one situation, and Chig gets kind of driven back. Both of their guys end up in their starters, including DJ Wanham, who's always been one of my favorite edges. It's kind of an underrated guy. I love that dude. He played in Minnesota. He's just super long. He's got like that Daniel Hunter-like build. It's kind of like my kind of guy. But anyway, something was off with the timing of the boot. I thought there was like more to it than just two guys getting beat, but what'd you see there?
Yeah, so this actually isn't like to my eye like a true boot. It's kind of like an old, like what I would call Wanda protection. So you fake. So like basically what's happening is they start empty, they shift down to something like kind of akin to like a north right clamp or snug formation, tight ends off the ball, receivers in tight splits. And what you're going to do is you're going to have the tight end to the direction of the ball fake, Chigakonko, run across the formation, across sift, and kind of settle right off of John Bates's hip. So it ends up being a full slide protection for the offensive line. It helps out because there's no single blocks, but it does put a little bit more pressure on the tight ends because they have the single blocks now. So you're insulating those 5 guys, and then again, you're putting John Bates and Chigakonkwo in a little bit of a difficult situation. Jaden's going to kind of do like a half roll, kind of set up right in the pocket and let this thing rip. And so what I will say about this, again, like, there's nuance and colors of gray to everything, is like what I was surprised Detroit did is they got into a ton of 6-2 fronts. And the problem with the 6-2 front, and especially one that they stem to post-snap, is there's a ton of movement. So like if you watch this clip, like John Bates, I think understands what's going on. You mentioned that the defensive lineman, what's his name? Wanton? Is that his name? I forget his name. Wanham. Yeah, I like him too, from Minnesota. But like the way his body is tilted, like he is not a true like head up 6 technique. He is going to play hard into the C gap violently. And you can just tell John is just a little bit slow to that. And again, you're getting pressure off the edge. So ideally what you'd get is you'd get a nice double team on this end with Chig and John Bates working with vision to the safety. But here, because of how Detroit has presented this front, we're in a 6-2, so everyone's in a single block, and we get a tough matchup on a tight end. And again, I'm speaking from experience. Like, this is a really tough block. You're in a 3-point stance or a 2-point because he's off the ball, and you have to fight this guy tooth and nail, get your hat across here, deny penetration. It can be really, really challenging, especially like that's something else that I was surprised about is just how loud it was in Detroit. So like you haven't worked the silent count. You probably haven't worked this protection too much versus stem 6-2. You've probably worked it versus strike 6-2, but not a stem 6-2. And it's a tough spot. Now, this is not an excuse. It's just like how much time have they put into this at this point of the year is probably not that much. So again,
but I hear that and I say again, I can't help Logan, but reiterate, they've chosen to play 3 snaps in August. So and you've essentially now taken me through 2 plays where you're like, they just haven't had a lot of time on task here. And it's like, they haven't really seen a lot of this. And I'm going, oh my God, the Eagles are right over the hill. Please do something to prepare for them.
So it's funny because someone said the same thing. I was having a conversation with one of my producers on the show. We were having like a similar back and forth. And what I want to just bring up to people who have this consternation is one of the things you do in a game plan week is, like we were at practice on, what was that, Thursday? Right?
Yeah.
Whatever, Wednesday.
Very like walk through, jog through, carded period kind of thing.
And you remember we talked about the carded period and how they're presenting and they're installing Detroit and all that kind of stuff. How many cards do you think they went through? Probably 6.
It wasn't much. I mean, it was
6 a period for 2 periods. It's 12 total cards, right? In a week of game plan prep, you get up in the morning. I'm just going off my old schedule. You get up in the morning, get your workout on, you eat breakfast, you go to special teams meeting. Right after that, you go to offensive install. This is Wednesday. Offensive install, then you go to a walkthrough. And what are you doing that entire time? You're talking Philadelphia first and second down. You're walking through Philadelphia first and second down. You go to practice. You practice Philadelphia first and second down. And then you have a review of Philadelphia first and second down at the end of the day. So people are saying, well, like, shouldn't you be ready for this? Shouldn't you be ready for this? Yes, you should. But if you're actually game planning, then you would have thought about this type of preparation. Like I think about my time in the preseason. Like I said, I played in a ton of preseason games. The amount of preparation you get in one of these games is basically 0. So like for me, a guy who's got to make the team, like I would go on my own and watch film and prep. And because I knew I had to be ready for some nonsense in case we brought it, because I didn't want to look like, get caught with my pants down essentially. Here, like because the prep is so small, even for the coordinators, like the types of runs that you're calling in this game are not traditionally good versus a 6-2. But if you're prepping for Detroit, like actually prepping, you're going to call some different runs because they're better versus 6-2 front spacing. So that's where I kind of say like, it seems to me like they came out here with kind of a very basic, very vanilla game plan, much like the defense did, and was like, hey, we're going to like see how this goes. And they saw how it went. And like, it just, one team brought more spice to the party than the other one. And that's part of the preseason. But to your point, Grant, it's a very valid point. Like you need to make these plays, you need to see these looks. And I understand that feedback, but I also understand that in a real week of game prep, you're going to get more game prep than 12 carded plays in a practice.
It's a really good clarification. I'm glad you make it. I'm an old man shaking his fist at the sea, so I'll move on. But it just the choice has been made, so now we'll adjust accordingly, and we'll see how it looks in week 1. But they've chosen to not use August to prepare their starters in game settings. Now they have a practice that they took very seriously, and I really liked against Miami. They're going to have another one against Baltimore coming up, obviously. if they only get these 3 plays with like the 2 plays we just dissected in great detail, and then the draw, and obviously defensively they played their starters for 2 snaps, and there were so many guys banged up that not everyone went. Most of the defense will not play at all in the preseason, as it were, which isn't their fault. But can you get down with that, to quote Dan Quinn? Like, does that work for you?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes, because I'm trusting Dan Quinn in his process. Like I've said on the show before, for me as a player, I always felt like I needed something more in the preseason, more than this, for example, right? Like I wanted to play a half. I wanted to play more because I felt like it helped me kind of get in the flow. Like blocking is such a martial art in a way, right? Where it's like, hey, like, oh, my hat, I thought I could keep it flat, but my hat needed to be a little bit farther. Or my hands needed to be here. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I always preferred that because I felt like more time on task was better for me. But like we've said on previous shows, some guys don't feel that way. Some guys would rather save the body, kind of stay fresh. Because I've also said this too. I was talking to Kedrick about this recently. And I was like, because I treated the offseason, training camp, preseason so hard, I like attacked it so violently, I didn't feel physically right until probably the week 4 or 5 of the season. So like I can do that because I'm like a special teams rotational guy. But if you're a starter stud, like maybe feeling fresher early in the season is more important to you. And I totally understand that and empathize with that.
The other thing I wanted to ask you just about the 3 plays we saw was there was a lot made. I mean, I forget like buddies of mine texting me and being like, dude, pass protection's a disaster or whatever. And I think that that's largely overstated. I think you've done a really good job explaining, every play has its own story. In a vacuum, you can look at this still and say there were 2 dropbacks.
Yeah.
One was a pressure throwaway and the other was a sack. Like, that's not ideal.
Yeah.
That's just from a pure result standpoint. But if I could say this, one guy was a smart aleck and like hit me up. He's like, I hope you're happy. You got your 3 plays or whatever. And I'm like, first of all, I'm thrilled that Jayden Daniels actually was contacted. And I'm not I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I think it was huge to get him on the field, to get him out of a game without an injury for the first time since October. For the first time in 4 games, to like mentally go out there and remember, like, I'm able to be tackled without getting hurt.
Yeah.
That actually was awesome to me. That he got wrapped up, he didn't go down. We basically played training camp rules on that snap. Like,
yeah,
it's cool. And by the way, it was a flow of a game. NFL defenses, DJ Wanham was coming for his ass. Like, let's go. I mean, I actually liked that. Now, would I have preferred him to hit Diggs for 51 yards? Sure. Yeah, that would have been fun too. But I also wanted like another drive, but I think they'd made up their mind. No matter what happens, it's one drive, and the drive went the way it went, and so the day was over. That was kind of how it went. But for anybody that goes, well, they should not have done that if they were only going to do 3. I'm annoyed they did 3 too, like 3 plays and out. Having said that, no, I'm so glad that Daniels played in a game, went through the motions, did pregame, and actually got some contact before the Eagles are sending their aliens in to try to, do damage.
Yeah. And so, yes. But the other thing I liked about this, and again, like this is a little bit glass half full because you could do it the other way. You could say, 2 sacks or a pressure and a sack and a draw. Like, what are we really gleaning from that? Like, I like the process of like what I'm seeing, like stuff you've seen in practice. So, hey, first play of the game, we're trying to get one of our big time free agents the ball early in a game on a route that he's good at. The second play of the game, we give the quarterback some autonomy at the line of scrimmage. We give him a shift to kind of identify coverage. He identifies it correctly. He checks the play. We get Traylon Burks running wide open down the middle of the field. If we can protect it, like that I'm not saying it's going to be a touchdown because there's a safety there, but it's going to be a huge chunk play. And all the things that we've been talking about, been calling for, been asking for, were there in those first 2 plays of the game. So like in terms of like what this thing looks like, I'm excited about it. Now, the execution has to get better, 100%. Like, I'm not here to say, like, John Bates will get that. Like, John knows that, right? Chikakonkwo knows it.
By the way, can I say that the least of my concerns is John Bates blocking? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
So that's a play where we're like, oh, boy, like, don't care about that at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll be fine. Now, the Julian Good-Jones one, if I'm just being honest, like, that is a confirmation of my priors where I'm going, I don't really love this. And then the first play is a pressure from where he is, and you've gone through the play itself. But it does, like when you go in nervous a little bit, when you're like, you leave your car with the keys in it in like the middle of the city where you shouldn't. And then like you come back and the windows looks like it's broken. Like you get a little nervous. Then you walk up, you're like, oh, I just left my window down. It's not actually breaking. Everything's fine. But at the same time, I'm like already going in anxious about Good Jones. He played a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
He's currently their starter. He was deep into the second half back on the field. Like, I don't know.
Yes. So
Golden
being on
was
the
playing guard. I think that was a big part of it, and they just light on center, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. So as you're walking the bench, all of a sudden you walk by the quarterbacks and you'll see, Coach Williams kind of going over the quarterbacks and be like, "Hey, Matt's at guard. Good Jones is going back to center." Right. And so like they was obviously kind of a conscientious thing to rotate through to see Golden, et cetera. And I will say this about Good Jones, like I know that first play is tough and like the PFF grade reflects that he shouldn't give up a pressure on the first play of a game. But I thought he did a good job with other protections in the game, other hat placement things, and versus stuff that, again, I'm not sure how much you prepped. Like how many times have you run, buck sweep or whatever that is, like that kind of pulling both guards to the perimeter versus a 6-man front, or how many times do you run an outside zone versus 6-man front? And I thought when he was in there, he called it pretty well. He got guys on the same page. And again, was it perfect? No, but it kind of gave me some confidence that like, if he is starting week 1, you can get through a game with him. Now, I don't know how that's going to shake out, but like first play, tough, but I thought it was better as the game went on after.
Let me ask you real quick. We're going a little long here, but I think it's important because it's what everyone's talking about on Pass Pro.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't come out of this with like the same feeling that it's perilous, like a lot of people that are panicking. Nor should you, because you're way more kind of in tune with what led up to this, and you know what I mean. You get the inner workings of it. But I wonder first, like just from watching those couple plays, is it fair to say you're not overly concerned? And then also take this game out of it. These 3 plays don't matter.
Yeah.
Are you not concerned about pass protection really at all, or would you say you are?
I am concerned about it because it is a huge part of the offense, but I'm concerned about it every year and I'll tell you why. So when you're working pass protection rules, it's not me winning a one-on-one necessarily with how defenses are rushing. And I think this game is a really good example of that. So for example, like I think Wiley had a pretty good game. I think Golden overall had a decent game, but I'm going to explain why, like he's got a 33 PFF grade. I'm going to explain what that looks like. I think Trent Scott did some good stuff, but it's how those 5 dudes play together. So there's one play that I'm thinking of specifically. I think it was a 3rd and 9. And they basically had kind of pushed the front. They kind of got in one of these overload fronts where it's an end really wide, a 3 technique really wide, and there's a shade to Good Jones's outside right shoulder. And during that, right, Wiley tries to jump the end. He tries to like be an aggressive on a 45-degree angle, but with that, and he's probably going to win that rep. But with that wide 3 technique, almost a 4-eye, like, and you get on different levels from the guard, you open yourself up to games. So like understanding the inner workings of the offensive line and basically saying like there was another play, and I'll talk about both of them. And so basically Golden gets the defensive lineman attacks his edge. Wiley gets picked. They loop around. Good Jones does a great job passing off the looping nose to Chris Paul and then chins the defensive end in the face. But there's a pressure on Golden because they're on different levels. So that's not any one individual's fault. That's both those guys' fault. And then Good Jones kind of saves the day in the 12th hour. There's another play earlier in the game where it's Connerly and Cosme. And Cosme, it's the same pressure, punches the 3 technique so hard it looks like his knees are about to buckle. He passes it off to the center easily. And then Connerly's guy tries to win inside, and Cosme's able to chin that guy in the face. So, like, in terms of 3 people working together, the first group obviously looked way more dynamic in that regard, while the second group is kind of working through the interpersonal relationships of, again, there's a rookie in there. There's a guy with not a ton of experience. You got Andrew Wiley on the end. They haven't played with each other that much. And so I coached this tackle who said this to me is like, I'm only as good in pass pro as my guard is. And so like, it's really the 5 guys coming together that is the thing that I'm like worried about because there's new pieces moving around because of the Laramie Tunsil injury.
Logan Paulsen, Grant Paulsen take command. I'm just looking back at a couple of other plays. Overall, how did you feel like Golden played at guard? I'm thinking about that screen.
Oh yeah,
Reynolds where he got blown up. And coach me on this because I watched that and he's kind of slow to get out there. and it does not look like he moves well in space. But I don't want to make some universal statement on one rep. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But to me, he looks like a center playing guard on that play. If that makes sense, does that make sense a little bit? Like I'm like, okay, but it could just be one rep.
I think that's a fair description of it. And I was thinking about it. I was like, man, this is like definitely not as good as it was versus Miami from Goldman. But it's also the first time that he's played guard. So like, some of those like depth of set in relation to the tackle, like passing stuff off, it's different at guard, right? And so like physically, I think he's fine, right? I think he's totally like it's the same thing for Togiai. Like Togiai does some awesome stuff. Like you're like, holy cow, that guy's a rookie undrafted free agent. Like that's amazing. And then the next play, you'll see him do something that a rookie undrafted free agent will do, where he like overreaches something or undersets it, and like that's part of the process of like offensive line kind of reaching their ascension in year 3 is that it takes time to like learn all the techniques and all the nuances, right? So Goldman, I'm like, oh yeah, that's really good hat placement there. Oh hey, that's a nice little reach there. But like there's also that's an underset, or hey, we got to be ready for the game here, or hey, this double team we got to be more vertical because you haven't played a lot of guard. And so I think there's a lack of experience. Now, to your point, I do think when he gets in space, he's not like Good Jones is decent in space. He actually moves pretty good. Like he's got kind of a natural like lateral quickness to him.
I feel way better about him moving than like being a big, strong guy. Goldman's the opposite.
Yeah. I think that's a really good description. Like Goldman's like really stout. He's got a really good anchor. He can kind of drive off the spot. And when I look at him in space, he's got to work on that a little bit more. He's got to cultivate that skill set. He understands targets and landmarks really well. It's just about continuing to develop that as we move forward with him. And again, like he's a young player. He's a 6th round pick. I think he's exceeding expectations currently. But anytime you get a new offensive lineman in any system, there's going to be bumps and bruises. Like think about Connerly last year. Like think about where he was at this point. It's like, and I don't know if he's going to be able to play, but it's the reps, it's the time on task, it's seeing the different patterns, the different stunts, the different spacings. And eventually they figure it out. And he seems like he's wired the right way. Does he figure it out now or does he figure it out week 8? Because that's definitely going to impact how the 53-man roster shakes out.
All right, let's come back and get to some of the guys that really stood out positively in this game. I've got a couple of dudes that I thought were excellent. I want to see if you agree. Also see who you really liked watching the tape. We're breaking down the preseason game in Detroit from this weekend, and then we'll look ahead to the end of camp kind of unofficially here this week with the joint practice coming up against the Ravens. It's Take Command. Welcome back to Take Command. All right, there's some guys I want to talk about here with you, Logan. First off, Athan Kaliakmanis. I thought he balled out a little bit. He made some throws in this game. Now, I've been on record as saying I don't think he has like NFL level normal quarterback athleticism from like today's quarterbacks. Like if you're creating a character on Madden, all right, like the guy I would have created years ago is like Tom Brady, cinder block footed, like big arm, like the late tragically Ryan Mallett, if you remember him.
Oh yeah.
Obviously one of my favorite players covering was Cousins, or I like Derek Carr a lot more than the average guy. I like the anticipatory, knowing pre-snap, like the stuff that's subtle that no one cares about that actually is skill. I love that stuff. And Kaliakmanis has some of that. But he, even compared to a lot of the guys I'm naming, it's like lesser athletic. But damn if he doesn't make some throws. Like, that was cool to see, man. He got comfortable. He was slinging the ball around. His final line was kind of juicy. He went 11 of 14 in this game for 162, 11.6 a pop, 115 rating. What'd you see from the what are we calling him? We're calling him the
John has a funny name for him. The Greek something, yeah.
No, it's the Baklava Bomber.
Did you just make that up on the spot?
No, someone else has been saying that. I don't remember where I heard that.
It's pretty good. But is that's not Greek, is it?
I thought baklava is like a type of Greek food.
I thought that was like Iranian food. It's like the dessert, right?
Evan, can we get a ruling on that, please? At some point. What'd you think about Kaliakmanis?
Okay. Okay, so I was kind of low-key, I want to temper this, like blown away. I mean, I don't know. He played really well. Like, so like even the first drop back, there's a little bit of there's a little foot traffic, Van Jefferson gets mixed up with kind of underneath hook player. He kind of steps up in the pocket, little sidearm dish.
Yeah,
and I was like,
climb it with a little athletic, like moving the arm angle.
I was like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden there's that beautiful ball to Jaden Bradley. There's the throw that he makes to Antonio Williams, which is basically like a nothing burger, but like it's versus zero all out. He stands in there, just rips a rope right to Antonio Williams while he's getting smoked in the back, which was incredible.
By the way, that was a hell of a catch because the ball's a little bit behind him, which I'm not mad about because, as you said, like that was an awesome throw and play from the quarterback. But Williams is going up the ladder, reaching across his body. That was sick.
Sick. And then like, the one on third down, same type of thing, which was awesome. And then there's the throw that he makes to Nash up the sideline, which was fantastic. Like it was impressive, man. And I don't know who's out there for Detroit at the moment because like Nash is a good receiver. You know, like Jaden Bradley's a pretty good football player. And Tony Williams, a third round pick. But like it was dealing, man. It looked good. And I think, you know, obviously they play a lot of man coverage, so the throws are a little bit easier to read for the quarterback.
Good point.
Yeah, man, like you come away like pretty impressed with the ball velocity, the anticipation, like just the general talent of the man. And the offense feels like I'll just say this too. I might be in the minority here. I don't think Sam Hartman played poorly by any stretch of the imagination, but the offense when he's at the helm feels different. It's like he's working through the progression. The ball's getting where it's supposed to go. He's very accurate. He's on time. Yes. But like all of a sudden, Kaliakmanis gets in there and the field feels big. You know, it was like I remember the first time when I was in Houston, we went and played in Kansas City, and I got to watch Mahomes on the grass, and the field felt enormous. Like it just felt like he could touch anywhere with the football. And I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but that arm talent is something that brings everything to life. You're like, holy cow, like look at this. Like it's unbelievable. So again, for a guy who's a 7th round pick to have a game like that, now it's easier versus man coverage. Like the defensive structure is a little bit more straightforward, but like you got to make the throws. And they got to make the catches, and I think they did a great job of that.
So I'm just tweeting. You said Kaliakmanis is Mahomes. Hold on, let me just finish this.
Yeah, tweet. Like okay. You put the quote on there. Yeah.
Yeah, sending at Logan Paulsen. Okay. Yeah, but stick aside, like, yes, I mean the size of the field thing resonates with me. I've never thought about it like that, but I love that way of describing it.
Yeah.
And this is not meant as a zing at Hartman because he's got some of the athleticism and the stuff Kaliakmanis doesn't have, moving around, mobility, whatever. But he lacks an NFL arm, and I'm sure he knows that, right? But like I don't even think on a 2080 scouting scale, like Kaliakmanis is probably a 55 arm. It's a tick above. I don't think it's a big arm. You know, it's not plus. It's not Jaden's or anything. But when you go from Hartman having a 40 or whatever it is, it just feels different. And also remember, he's a 7th round pick. A lot of people thought had like a UDFA grade on, who's playing in his first preseason, you know, on the road indoors for the first time. Like that was impressive. And he's definitely the 3rd best quarterback right now in the org, it feels like. I would keep 2. We've talked about the idea of keeping him on the practice squad. I think that's going to happen. I guess the question is there any reason to also keep Hartman? Can he force his way into that conversation? I don't know. By the way, Evan just got back on this. Baklava does not belong to a single country, but it evolved as a shared culinary tradition across the Ottoman Empire. It has roots in ancient Mesopotamia and Central Asia, mainly Turkey and Greece.
Look at you. So that's interesting. So because I like a good kebab, and every kebab place I go to, so, it's Iranian, it's Lebanese, it's, all these different kind of kebab spots. They all have baklava, and I love baklava. It's like the honey with the pastry in the middle of it. Yeah. So I'm like, obviously, but that makes sense because it's the old Ottoman Empire. So that whole kind of area of the world has got some nice sweet honey pastries out there, which is exciting. So that's good.
I don't have a cool nickname for Jaden Bradley, but I get steamed up for Jaden Bradley.
Dude,
had the 30-yard catch one-handed while being interfered with, 2 for 42. Forget those plays. I think I said to you at one point in training camp, I'm like, I'm going to talk way too much about this guy over the next month, and then he's not going to make the team. And I've known since the first second I've seen him, he's not making the team. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to not keep chirping about him on the practice squad. Like, big physical receivers, I love them. I can't quit them. If you're 6'3" or more as a receiver and you can look fluid running routes, I'm gonna over talk about you. And Jaden Bradley wins that award this year for me. Like, put him on the practice squad.
Well, dude, I think he deserves it though too. I mean, like what we saw in this game was stuff we've been seeing from him in training camp. Like he's like the way you described him, I think is perfect. Like he's a taller guy, and usually those tall guys have a hard time accelerating, decelerating, but he's very smooth in his routes. But like usually then all of a sudden, if they're smooth, they're kind of like skinny, frail guys who aren't super able to block and mix it up. But he's been solid on teams, at least in the practice work. And then again, physical in the run game. So I'm kind of like, yeah, man, like he's done everything you need to go. And I was talking to someone today, someone on the beat, and they were like, oh, I've got him on the 53-man roster. And so, like, I don't know if I'm going to go there with it yet, but I think that's like
a little bit ridiculous.
It's excessive.
How would that even happen if you're cutting McCaffrey and Van Jefferson?
Yeah, but if you think about it, but like, hey, I'm with you. We're on this. You and I.
I'm shooting the messenger. I know.
Yeah, but what I would say is like that's kind of how good he's been in practice. Now he's working against the threes. It's a totally different thing. But like he's been awesome. So for me, 100%. Put him on practice squad. Let him develop.
Yeah, I'm not trying to shoot the person down like as an I'm the captain of the boat of the Jaden Bradley cruise liner. Okay, like that's my guy. Okay, I was Galileo. I'm first on the scene. All right, I've been telling people about this for a while. But the point of the dude's story is like you could get him on the P squad. Like there's no real reason to do that, in my opinion, in terms of like cutting a Luke or a Jefferson or something. Now, I think Jefferson's out anyway because he's my 8th guy. If you only keep 6, you could also cut Luke, I suppose. But I don't know. What would, other than just to like prove that everything's a meritocracy, like what would really be the point of keeping a Bradley over a Luke who helps you more on special teams as it is anyway? That wouldn't make a lot of sense to me.
I think the only way that happens is if you feel like Bradley I'm talking about, because Luke's done a great job on teams. Like as a return man, I thought he caught the punts really well the other day. Like that was nice to see because I wasn't sure if he had that club in the bag. He's done a good job in kick coverage stuff when he's had those opportunities, kick return. Is if you think Bradley brings something more as a true gunner, which I don't know. I'm not saying I've seen that. I'm just saying that would be the way that he'd make it. Is like you put him out there and he's got like the TO kind of track where he can just like throw down, he can beat a double team and, go stress this guy catching the football. Now, I don't know if he can do that or not.
Yeah.
Like he's done a good job in practice with that, but doing it in the game is an entirely different animal.
I thought Antonio Williams was flashing too. 3 for 41 on 3 targets.
Yeah. And it was great to see that. Cause like, even in I was talking to someone about this the other day, like even in practice, he hasn't really he's popped in 1-on-1s, he's popped in 7-on-7, but he hasn't really popped in team that way. And so to see him catch the football like that with that body control, that dexterity, the smoothness, I think was really good to see. And like it was confirming, obviously, because like that's what he did in college and that's what the draft eval that I did was based off of. So it was nice to see him kind of get some opportunities and make some plays. And I think you see a guy with a skill set that has room to grow and room to prosper at the NFL level. Kind of everyone says, oh, like he's, Diggs light. And I think that's 100% true. Like, let's let this guy have an opportunity to continue to improve.
Last guy I wanted to mention on offense, Robert Henry Jr. had like a cold water game, kind of like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge game. He was coming off of that monster performance. Everyone's talking about him making the team or whatever. And I'm not pretending like this one game means everything, but 4 carries, -3 yards, and then he fumbled on kick return on like a play that wasn't overly physical where he kind of had a lapse where he got hit from the side. Overall, I just kind of felt like this was like a missed opportunity for him probably.
Yeah, and I think it just speaks to like being on the sideline and then again watching it today, like the way Detroit was playing run defense was very aggressive. I mentioned the 6-2 front spacing. They brought a lot of first and second down run pressures, and there was not a lot of air. And so one, as I don't really hold that against Henry. Like I think that's just tough. Like he had a little bit cleaner sailing against Miami. And I think it just speaks to how good Katron Allen is in terms of his vision, his power, and his ability to kind of make muddy runs efficient. Because there was times where I was standing back there, like I like to stand kind of behind the ball and watch through, and I'm like, there's nowhere. He kind of waits, he presses, he gets downhill and gets 3. And you're like, dang, that's like the best 3-yard run I've ever seen. Like just in terms of patience and kind of making the offensive line right. So I think, again, like Robert Henry's skill set is still Robert Henry's skill set. I just think that was a tough sledding day, and it was more suited to the plow horse, which was Katron Allen.
That's a good way to put it. 17 attempts for 35 yards as a team.
Yeah.
2 a pop, 2.1. And to your point on Allen, 10 for 30, kind of hard earned. Now, he had an 11-yard run in there, so otherwise it was like 9 for 19, basically 2 per carry. So it wasn't like anybody had a field day, to your point. Anybody that you want to single out, I'll hit on a couple guys defensively in a second. You could go there too, but who did you really like watching the tape?
I mean, the offense, all those guys you mentioned, I thought did a really good job. It was nice to see Chig do some stuff kind of as a pass catcher. And in the run game, I think people sleep again on his strength. So that was cool to kind of see him get on the grass. Again, Cosme only had 3 reps, but like he looks like he's ready for like a big year, and like with Tunsil out, that becomes really important, him playing next to Connerly. I think, I'm kind of combining 2 games here in a joint practice with Coleman. Like his pass protection feel has gotten so much better. And so like that gives me a lot of confidence that like, hey, you can kind of put him out there. Things are going to go well. Got Cosme on the right side. And again, like you still got to kind of galvanize at the center's position in that and with the guards also. But I think on the perimeter, I'm starting to feel more and more confident with them. And, some young guys, I mentioned Goldman didn't have the best day, but you see some traits. Togia, you see some traits. And again, like I think all those skill guys and Kaliakmanis were really the story of the day.
All right, I want to hit on a couple of players on defense before we get out of here. We'll do that next on Take Command. Welcome back. Take Command, Logan Paulsen and Grant Paulsen. So we'll be quick here on defense. We went long on offense in this pod, but a couple guys that really stood out to me. I think there's a chance. We talked about maybe keeping a 10th guy, and with Johnny Newton out, maybe there's a defensive tackle up for grabs on the D-line, possibly. Ricky Barber was really good again. Now, he was hopped and left, came off. I saw like a little bit banged up. We'll have to see what's going on there, but he had a 5-tackle performance where he rushed the quarterback well up front again, had another QB hit. You could make the case he's been as good as anybody on the team through 2 preseason games, but he was playing very deep into the game, which is kind of interesting to me. Also, Maurice Hurst. This was the veteran that they brought in here, who's like played all over the league and has been around for several years now. He had 5 tackles, had 2 sacks in this game, couple TFLs, couple hits on the quarterback. By far the most impressive statistical day on the team. And then I keep talking about this guy, Byron Cowart, the former Patriot. I don't know if you watched him much, but like number 55, like the first preseason game, I thought he took over in the second half. He was loudly noticeable again in this game. So I actually thought some of their depth D tackles really kicked butt.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, it's been nice to see. And again, there's times where it's like maybe you could be a little bit more stout here, hold the point a little bit better. I thought Jeffrey Mba, number 60, again, I kind of kept messing up Barber and Mba, but like I thought they both played pretty well in the interior, both young football players, which is exciting. You mentioned the 2 older guys. Joshua Josephs, like again, like we'll talk about him on the zone read here in a second, but like he has the juice. And when he plays football, like he is a stick of dynamite. And so like every time I watch him, like it seems like he got some good, some bad in this game, but like his ability to rush the passer is going to affect games for this team, which is pretty fantastic. So love that.
Mention the good and the bad. I mean, the good, obviously, he scores a touchdown on the second snap. And on that play, did a nice job before even being the guy that got lucky enough to land on the ball. The bad was, man, did he bite hard on that read option and run himself out of that play for a 50-yard quarterback keeper touchdown.
Yeah, and so you're always like, man, who's responsible? Was he supposed to take it? Was Sonny Styles supposed to play over the top? Was the safety kind of supposed to slow play that as the D-gap defender? And, one of the benefits of being on the sideline is I kind of walked over to the defensive area of the bench, and Durante Jones is pretty chill. Like, he's pretty chill on the bench. He's very straightforward. And he was like nose to nose, not with Sonny Styles, not with Chris Harris, but with Joshua Josephs, kind of saying, like, what were you thinking? I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But like to me, I'm like, okay, well, you got to be the contained player. And like when you go back and watch the film, it makes a lot of sense because Sonny is fitting that run as the C-gap defender, and he's expecting there to be someone on the perimeter, and there's
Sonny
nobody there.
Sonny took a lot of crap for that play. It seems like he's in the right gap then.
He's for sure in the right gap. Like when you go back and watch it, especially I have a little bit more information, seeing Durante Jones coach that, like obviously he wants a certain thing. And I think Sonny's in a good spot, honestly. And one of the people I wanted to just give a small shout out to was Sonny Styles. Like people are lighting him on fire right now. But I thought in this game, like the first play of the game, he is below the offensive guard. He's chinning him in the face. He knocks him back into the, like Fletch was talking about, man, he really needs to work on like his 6-inch shoulder punch, 6-inch explosion through the offensive lineman. And you could tell it was a coaching point because the first play of the game, he absolutely chins the offensive lineman in the face and like knocks him back and makes a big pile and kind of gets in on the tackle. I thought like that's a guy that wants to be a better football player. And he was playing with a better level of physicality, I thought, in the front. Now that play, the zone read, again, he's in the right gap, but I would say to him, like, can we use our hands a little bit better and maybe play out of this thing late? But again, young football player earning his opportunity. But overall, like, I thought he took a step from week 1 to now. And I know a lot of fans maybe don't feel that way, but like when you go back and watch the L22 and watch play after play after play, like he is definitely trying to be more physical. He's playing faster. You see, like there was a little a play that it was a nothing play where the quarterback checks it down to the flat, and he's the hook player. Like he's underneath the dig route basically, or the high crosser. I forget what it was. And the ball goes out and he closes on that thing. And thank God this running back dropped it because he would have killed that guy. And so, for example, if he catches it and it's a big hit and everyone goes, "Oh my gosh, Sonny Styles, he's arrived, he's the man." Like to me, it's a little bit serendipity when you're playing that position in terms of tackles and big hits. And that would have been a great one, and I would have been like, "Wow, that's so great," but you don't get it because he drops the ball. So I think improvement.
Let me ask you this on Sonny Styles.
Yeah,
how vanilla is what they're doing right now? Because here's what I want to know. Okay, they're treating him like he's just like a middle linebacker, kind of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like my whole thing is, you don't draft the guy at 7 with his athleticism and then go, "Hey, go be a linebacker." Like, "Hey, we're gonna treat you like I would treat I'm just gonna, Bobby Wagner or something." And they're just kind of like read and react. Okay, now drop and cover and be the zoning linebacker here. And I feel like the whole point of this defense is like, he's going to be on the edge some. He's going to be at safety some. He's going to be at nickel some. He's going to run like these A-gap blitzes and mug and be at the line of scrimmage and run these like cross dog things. Is that all coming and they're just not showing it, or are they just treating him like he's a normal linebacker? Because that would be kind of a waste to me.
So all I can say, because we can't talk too much about what we've seen in practice, is on the spectrum, and we've seen in practice, to what we've seen in the preseason game. So the preseason game is like, like on the vanilla scale is like the most basic vanilla thing you've ever seen from a defense. Like we're going to kind of play, like literally it looks like the same defensive script that they ran in rookie install. Like that's what it looks like to me. Like, so the thing you want to teach the rookies that are there, that's what we're doing. Compared to what you've seen in practice, which at times is overwhelmingly complicated. So to me, this is again, I have no inside baseball, and this is just me observing. It's almost doing them a disservice because of what they've been practicing the last 4 weeks has been such a stark departure from what we're seeing in these preseason games. So I think, again, we've talked about this on the show. I think it's smart that they're doing that, but I also think it makes it difficult for some of these elements like Leo Chenal. I thought Leo Chenal had a decent game, made some nice tackles, but they're not using him to the fullest extent of his ability, right? Sonny Styles, Frankie Louvu, right? Some of these pass rushers, when they get in there, Nick Cross is going to be using different. Like
because
all of that
the
stuff
vanilla nature of the preseason, because they're just not showing their hand.
I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I haven't been able to convey effectively how hard it would be if you're Philadelphia to prep for this team right now. Because what you're going to look at is you're saying, let's go look at Minnesota. And Minnesota runs some of the most diabolical, insane pressures, and they do it every week. And the volume is incredibly high. So you're going to have to prep for 0 on first, second, and third down. You're going to have to protect for overloads. You're going to have to protect for simulated pressures. You're going to have to protect for all these different things. And so you're going to have to over-prepare for what you've seen from Minnesota. While here, we can just say, hey, what are we the best at? Let's bring that to Philadelphia week 1. And so week 1, I think it could potentially be a bloodbath because of how complicated this defense or the complexity that they're hiding, I think. But then again, we'll see what Durante Jones wants to do. And
when you say bloodbath, you mean the Eagles could be on the receiving end.
Yes. Yes, that's what I mean. Sorry if that was not clear.
Yes. I think the context clues were there. All right, he's Logan Paulsen. I'm Grant Paulsen. There's your breakdown from some of the key storylines coming out of preseason game 2. Next time you hear from us, we'll be talking about the joint practice in Baltimore. Second of 3 episodes this week when we get there midweek on Wednesday. Thanks to producer Evan, and for Logan, I'm Grant saying so long.